What's up, everybody? Screech here with some interesting one. This one is a little personal to me. Uh, it's Senator Patty Murray. As you can see on my screen, we need the Department of Education, no matter how much Republicans try to tell you otherwise. Schools need funding. Students' rights need to be protected. Teachers and parents need data to know how to help kids succeed. But Trump and McMahon are breaking all of that to pieces. Now, Trump recently, I believe, signed an XO um, that disbanded the Department of Education, which honestly, as somebody who went to school in the 90s and 2000s, I 100% agree with this. The education system sucks, especially thanks to the Bush administration, in my opinion, and No Child Left Behind. That's when it really started to go to shit. Um, but let's see what she has to say, uh, and we'll go from there.
The Department of Education exists not only to get federal funding out to our students and schools, but to make sure basic educational guardrails are upheld.
All right, first off, uh, what funding, Senator? Uh, because my school had no funding. My teachers couldn't afford books. They kept being told they don't have the funding for the books. Our school kept shutting down programs that were deemed unnecessary to support a football team that was failing, just to give it the little bit of funding they could. Uh, my teachers also had to constantly ask all of the students and their parents for supplies, erasers, markers, paper, pencils, red pens, which we weren't even allowed to use in class because that was a quote unquote teacher's utensil or device, however you want to verb that. So there's been no funding going to the schools when I was in school, and I doubt there's been funding going on now because my brother is 10 years younger than me and graduated 10 years after me and complained about the same issues. And as far as these guardrails, uh,
And schools, but to make sure basic educational guardrails are upheld.
what is a guardrail? Because a guardrail to me would be like basic mathematics, how to balance a checkbook, do your taxes if you're in high school, stuff like that. Stuff that y'all refuse to teach. I have had teachers fired who actually tried to teach this to us. They found out that they were teaching us how to balance checkbooks, and that teacher was no longer employed the following year. Figure that out.
Our kids' rights in the classroom are protected. Our teachers and schools have the data and information and support they need.
Okay, let's go back because I heard a funny word.
But to make sure basic educational guardrails are upheld. Our kids' rights in the classroom are protected.
One, why is there such a weird cut there? But two, children have no rights. That's what I was told. I had to shut up and do as I was told. Gallagher said it best. School is a place where you learn to communicate, but all you do is get told, shut up. By the people teaching you to communicate. Children have no rights. That's why there's a thing called legal age. It's why they can't vote until they're 18. It's why they can't serve in the military until they're 17, because they have no rights, unfortunately.
Our teachers and schools have the data and information and support they need to best serve students.
Again, you talk about this support, but there's been no support for 20 to 30 years. So, where's the support, man?
Trump has put all that in grave jeopardy.
No, he removed something that didn't work to begin with. That's what he did. And I don't like Trump for the most part. But this is one thing I absolutely believe he should have done. When I hit high school and learned how shitty the education system was from state to state to state to state to state or country to country, I vowed my children would never enter the public education system in the United States of America. I would homeschool them or ship their ass off to Japan if we could move, because that education is 1,000 times better.
What happens when your school district loses out on funding for the school counselor or math tutoring?
There's been no tutors. You've always had to do private tutoring because you decide to cramp 30 to 50 students in a classroom with a single teacher, and they can't even teach the students there. So that's part of why there's failing grades. On top of that, You talk about this tutor, there's no tutoring because there's nobody to tutor because there's nobody educated enough because the school system sucks and nobody wants to go into it anymore.
What happens when they have no one to call when their money doesn't come through?
First off, it's not their money. It should be the school's money and the funding. So maybe that's a verbiage issue on my part or your part. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is there's no funding and never has been funding.
What happens when your second grader with a disability is denied the education they are entitled to, but there's no one at the federal level to enforce the law?
Okay, so I think that's Title IX. That one's a little different. And yeah, there should still be a law that requires the schools or whatever. Actually, I don't even think should be required of the school. It should be if a student is enrolled in the school, which this could have fallen under the Department of Education. And this is one thing I will say is a bad thing and should try and get reformed somehow. Because if there's somebody with a disability who can learn, whether they're blind, um, Down syndrome, stuff like that, there are some people I don't know if they can actually learn uh, based on their disability. I've never dealt with somebody so severe enough that they couldn't learn. I just don't know if that's a thing or not. But those people actually do deserve the help. Uh, when I was in fifth grade, we had a student who was blind and he had a braille book that was specifically bought for him. He had uh, wasn't a member of the staff. 'Cause she was not employed by the school, but she was with him at all times, and he had a braille typewriter so that he could like do his assignments and stuff. It was honestly kind of cool to learn about that in fifth grade. Uh, I had to help him out sometimes when she just could not be there.
What happens when our teachers are left flying blind because we've gotten rid of the data collection, research, and analysis they need to know what's working and what's not?
I, I'm I'm dumbfounded by this statement.
Research and analysis, but there's no one at the federal level to enforce the law. What happens when our teachers are left flying blind because we've gotten rid of the data collection, research, and analysis they need to know what's working and what's not?
So you admit, no, it's not an admission. What you're saying is teachers don't know how to do their damn job. That's what tests are for. They give you tests based on the curriculum they teach to see how you're performing. That's the data and analysis they have to do and has always been there. Your FCATs and SATs and all this other shit is bullshit. You've lowered the score so much that the country has become more dumb.
What happens when you get cheated and left on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars because the people who cracked down on fraudulent colleges and predatory lenders were fired?
All colleges are fraudulent and predatory, in my opinion, because they don't give you a proper education enough to do what you got to do, and you're lucky to do it. The fact that a couple of things, the fact that I have a car payment or I have a car loan that is worth more than a house I can buy right now up the road from where I live is horrific. That's a government thing. But the fact that colleges can cause you to rack up so much debt that you could, if you had all that money back, afford a multi-million-dollar mansion is ridiculous. The fact that they have 500, 600, $700,000 and they're not doctors or lawyers is beyond me. And that's predatory no matter what.
We're about to find out. Because while Trump showers new tax breaks at billionaires like himself and Linda McMahon,
Oh, I bet you got money. I mean, you're a senator. All the senators so far have been proven to be crooked, and the congressman. Thank you, Pelosi. Uh, you're playing the stock market. Don't pretend like you're not. I bet you have more money than you're willing to admit.
he is lawlessly breaking the Department of Education. The department
I don't think he's lawlessly doing it. I think he's doing it exactly how it needs to be done, and it's a complete wash because the program is shit. I honestly, I'm against public schools. I think from now on it should be homeschooling. Pure out. I don't think personally students need to go past the eighth grade at this point because unless you're going to college, you learn everything you need to know in eighth grade, other than how to balance a checkbook and do your taxes. Plain and simple. Go get a job. Get started on life early. Bring back like cart pushers and grocery store baggers. Make it a requirement. Open up all the fucking registers. Get rid of self checkout. Uh, because that's just complete and utter garbage. Uh, that's how it is. You know, you want to play this game, but you're playing with the wrong people. You're up there being a hoity-toity person when you need to come down here and talk to real people who've, oh, I don't know, went through the education system less than 100 years ago. Sorry, I'm a little bitter about this, guys, but I will catch y'all in the next one. Till then, bye bye.